Hello everyone and welcome in this webinar between Agicap and Odoo. So we will see in this webinar the integration between the two software to take the cash flow management at the next level. My name is Jérôme. I'm business analyst here at Odoo for 4 years now, and I'm specialized in the assistance of the accounting firms. And today I'm glad to welcome Mickaël from Agicap in our studio here. Well, Mickaël, I will propose you maybe to introduce yourself, but also introduce Agicap for the one that doesn't know the software.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Mickaël. I'm Chief Revenue and Alliance Officer of Agicap. Glad to be here today to get into the cash flow management topic and explain you how you can improve your cash performance with Agicap and Odoo mixed together. So first of all, a few words about cash flow management. So as you know, cash is king. And in the current context with high interest rate, I would say that cash is more king than ever and needs to be properly managed. And actually, cash flow management has become the #1 priority of the finance teams of small and medium-sized companies. So this is a strategic topic in multiple ways. And how we see it at Agicap is really to give you access to an all-in-one cash flow management platform that allows you to improve cash performance as a team. With your CEO, your CFO, and your finance team, these are all the users that we typically work with. So to make sure that on the strategic level, you can really mitigate the risk of cash shortage and make sure that there is a good alignment between your company strategy, especially in terms of investment and growth, and your cash trajectory. On the financial side, to make sure that you can get a real ROI from your cash flow management, because good cash forecasting means that you can reduce the cost of financing by anticipating precisely what you need. And if you can also invest excess cash placement, you can definitely increase the return from this excess cash. But also on an operational level, cash flow management is something that is traditionally done in a bunch of Excel sheets, and that, as you will see, Agicap allows you to do in a much more automated and reliable way as a team with a proper SaaS dedicated to this cash practice. So to give you a quick overview of the Agicap cash flow management platform, and you will see during the demo some live examples. It's an all-in-one platform with standalone modules. So at the center of it, we have the backbone, which is banking and ERP connectivity, to really have the banking data and the ERP data centralized in one place, nice and clean, to have a real-time visibility on your cash and to also process payment, as we will see. And on top of this, you can develop short-term, mid-term, and long-term cash flow management and cash flow planning to improve your cash performance. Business spend management and cash collection are also things that we do, but that we won't cover in this webinar today.
Great. Yeah, I will be glad to see it in demo, of course. So maybe I will also, on my side, introduce quickly Odoo for the one that doesn't know the product. So basically, Odoo came from, let's say, a view on the business market in which we check that companies are working with, of course, a lot of different software. So the idea of Odoo is to centralize all the needs of a company inside one software in terms of a suite of application in which we will find different applications inside Odoo that will communicate each other, and of course the information will be integrated. This way we can really be efficient. You will find some different applications, for example, the accounting that will replace a QuickBooks, a Sage, or whatever. You will find a CRM application that will replace, for example, a Salesforce. Of course, there is plenty of application, approximately 50 in native, but today we will focus on the Odoo point of view on the accounting application. The accounting is, of course, the center of, let's say, the ERP, in which we will find integration with other applications as well. But also we will focus on what we try to put in evidence in Odoo between the accountant and actually his own customer. So we try to have a common platform for the two profiles, let's say, to really keep, let's say, to break this digital wall, as we say, as a metaphoric view, where the customer at the end of the month take his bills, his invoice, basically all his administrative stuff, and just throw it up this digital wall the accountant take over everything, process it into the accounting, then once it's finished, he sent it back to the customer, and the customer just have some reports that he doesn't understand because he's not aware about accounting. So the idea is to break this digital wall. This digital wall. It's the start, so I need to to process it to really focus on real counsel. So the accountant can become a trusted business advisor and work together with the customer on the same platform and benefit from the work of each other. So enough talking, we will jump into the demonstration. So after the demonstration, we will have also a Q&A session where we will be glad to answer your questions. So don't hesitate to type it in the chat of this webinar. So I will jump at first in Odoo. In Odoo, you will find the different application of my customer platform here. And I will, of course, focus today on the accounting. But before diving into the accounting, I will dive into the documents application. The documents application is really important in the accounting because it's the place where we will be able to digitalize every document from the company. This documents application is structured in several workspaces and in tags. This workspace and tags, you can of course define how you want to configure it based on your own need as an accountant or as a customer. So you can really, let's say, share this space to let's say, drop your documents. So basically, if I jump from one workspace to another, you can see that the tags has been updated because it's really workspace specific. And if I want to dive in my ID card, for example, I can just filter on my tags and I find all the documents with the related tags. Here, I will focus on the first place in the inbox, in which I will find in my new document the UK document that I need to process. I can, of course, upload manually the documents, so I will do it quickly. I have some documents here to add. But I can also create what we call shared links with an email address or with a specific URL link in which you can directly type your documents here. So let's open this one and check that it's in this PDF file, we will find different kind of bills. So what I need to do here is split this document. So we select the other file also and split it. And here Odoo will split all the pages of my two different documents. I will be able to add some limitation with these little scissors. And then by playing with my arrow, I can navigate between the different documents. I check here directly this invoice. I can move to the next one and to the next one. Quickly, I see that it's the same invoice, so I can just regroup it by removing the scissors, and then I will select all my documents, so basically here 4 documents, and I can notify my accountant. This action will actually move these documents inside another workspace of my documents application. So as you can see, I have nothing more in my inbox workspace. So I will jump now in my finance workspace, in which I will find in the new document the 4 documents that I just forwarded. I can also select the 4 documents in one shot, and then through my action here, I will be able to create a vendor bill, customer invoice, whatever. You can also customize this part. I will create my vendor bill, and actually here, by creating this vendor bill, I will be redirected automatically in the accounting app. So as I mentioned that Odoo is an integrated software, both applications are communicating here. So let's create the vendor bill and dive into the accounting app without checking that it's the case here. So here I have my invoice that has been splitted. I will only find this document and all the booking space here that is empty and not for too long because our OCR is working. I can refresh the page and I will find here all the bookings that are updated automatically. But we will just come back later on it because as you can see on this invoice it has been updated, but also on the other where we find all the related information. If I come back in my documents application, I have nothing more again in my new document because this document has been processed. Now they are in the post-it section. So as you can see, let's say the structure is dynamic based on the action that you do. So let's take maybe not this one, the one that I just opened a few minutes ago, so the cartridge one. I still have the link here to the draft bill to access it directly, so nothing is loose, of course. So let's jump back now in the accounting application, in which we will find the different boxes over here. So these boxes are actually your accounting journals, in which, of course, you will find the different bookings. So at first, I will focus on the vendor bills journal, in which I have 4 bills to validate. So the one coming from my documents application. And let's jump back in the first one. So let's see what happened here. So directly, I see that everything has been completed. So that's good for me. But basically, if I click here, I will see on the screen different, let me maybe zoom a bit. I will see on the screen different different text zone, let's say, highlighted by my OCR. So once I created my bill in the accounting app, Odoo sent the PDF file to Google that translates this PDF file in a text file. Then Google sent it back to Odoo, and the OCR of Odoo just analyzed the text file to, let's say, focus on the field that he needs. So basically, for the vendor, he finds here the section with the name of the vendor. For the bill reference here, he find, maybe unzoom it a bit, he find the section over here. So if, let's say, there is a mistake, you can also update it. So if I click here, I will have the amount updated. But what is important with this update is that the next invoice that I will have for this supplier, Odoo will learn about your process and will apply this new reference. But here it was correct, so I can reload the original data. Then it's for the, let's say, the basic information here, and then you can jump into the booking itself. The booking itself is not anymore the OCR, it's the artificial intelligence of Odoo who works here. So basically, we have the vendor, the artificial intelligence will just check the historical bookings for this vendor and apply the same account and also the same taxes. In this case, it's a specific invoice, so I will apply a specific treatment, but you can also have, of course, here in the journal items, the view of the booking that will be performed in the system, because for now, I'm still in draft. So I will, as I mentioned, it's quite different here for this one, because I see directly it's 1 year startup hosting, okay? So I want to split this cost on all the year 2024, even if my accounting date is in 2023. So I will be able to add here a starting date and an end date. So let's put first 1st January 2024 and the end of the year 31 of December. And then when I will confirm my bill, it will be posted, of course, but now I have also a button here, which is the deferred entries. So basically, Odoo will just cancel the impact, the accounting impact of my cost in 2023, and we just record miscellaneous operation months after months to record a partial cost of this. Let's take, for example, the one of June, in which we will find here the, let's say, the percentage of the cost that will be booked at the end of June. And it will be booked automatically, because you can see here in the purple banner that this booking will be done automatically in the system at the end of the month. So I can come back in my bill now and continue my booking. Let's jump into the next invoice. So I won't do my talking about every field here. I think you understand, but I will move directly in, we'll remove also this date. I will remove directly in the booking section, in which here we will see that it's a fixed asset account. It's important because once I will confirm my bill here, Odoo will generate the asset. And here I can access the asset with the information coming from the bill, of course, but also with all the configuration that I put in place for the period to depreciate, and also the account that will be used for the depreciations. But that's not all, because Odoo generates also all the entries for this asset. So you will see here all the past entries that has been already booked in the system, and the one in blue here that are in the future and will be booked automatically in the future. So let's maybe take the example here of our posted entries. It will be more visual. So here we see that we have all the entries, the past entries already posted. And if we jump to the one at the end of June, in the same process that for the deferred, it will be automatically processed at the end of the month. So basically, what you need to understand here, it's once you process the bill, Odoo will generate the asset form, but also all the depreciation of this asset. So you don't need to play with it at the end of a period. So let's come back in our bill, and I think I have one or two less. Okay, here I won't go deeper because I see that I have a duplicate. Okay, well, let's jump into my little link here. I see that I already have a bill for this partner, which is posted. Okay, let's have a look. It's already paid. And we can see in the chatter here that it's been created 1 month ago. So yeah, indeed, it was a duplicate. So I can delete it and move to the last one. Up, I can delete it and move to the last one, which is also here license fees. And this one is quite specific as well, because we have here a periodicity that this license fees is for January and February. So let's have a look once we post this bill. Because once I post the bill, I will be able to split the cost of this bill. So basically here we have 8 recorded, 8 pounds recorded in January. We would like to, in the journal item, to cut off this expense. And I will cut off on the February 2022. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. And I will cut off, I will make it simple and put 50%. And then Odoo is creating here 2 entries. So the one to cancel 50% of my expense in January and record this cost, a part of this cost in February. So I can create my journal entries here, which are posted. If I come back in my bill, I have processed everything. So I can come back in my dashboard and I won't find anymore the bill to validate. But something that I see here is that I have some bills to pay. So I can directly dive into it, and let's say that I need to pay the bill for let's say the one that are due until the end of the month. So I can select here my 123 bills. I can register my payments, and I will register the payment over here. So I will it will take a few seconds because I have few payments to create here. So Odoo will create these payments, and then once he will create it, let's wait for a sec. Okay, we can regroup all these payments because obviously we don't want to do it individually. We can select it and then go into the action button and create the batch payment. Then we will find in this batch payment all the related payments that I can validate, and then I will find my XML documents that I can provide to you. Mickaël,
yes.
Can you show us how you manage it in Agicap?
Yes, of course. So that's the first use case I want to cover here, is how to validate and automatically execute supplier payment in Agicap, thanks to the payment file that has been generated in Odoo. So first of all, I will navigate to the payments module in Agicap. Here, and here, as a finance manager, I've got a notification to review a batch of payments. So these are exactly the ones that have been generated in Odoo. And so typically in a normal process, you will have to figure out your own validation process, and you will need to log into every single bank portal to actually execute the payment. Agicap allows you to do this in a much more automated and centralized way. So these are the payments to be approved. You can see here with the labels, the payment date, the amount. Please note that to prevent fraud and ensure a high level of security, you can customize internal validation rules. So here, for example, as a finance manager, I have to validate every batch payment above 100,000 euros. And I can quickly create another one so that our CEO, Martin, also has to validate any payment above 500,000 euros as well. Now back to the review of my payment batch here. So it's actually a 2-step process. So first there is the internal validation, and then there is the actual banking signature to execute the payment. So let's review once again, and if everything looks good, I can go ahead and validate first level as a finance manager, something that I could also do directly on my phone. Here, because it's above 500,000 euros, our CEO will also receive a notification on his smartphone to validate as well this payment batch. And the next step is the banking signature. So first of all, in terms of payment protocols, Agicap supports multiple payment protocols. So here what I'm going to show you is based on ABXTS protocol, but we also support like BACS in the UK, XML or other local protocols in Europe and North America. So here, if I use the ABXTS protocol, I will need to sign this remittance here and up. There you go. And here, what I will basically need to do, that I'm not going to do during this live demo, is to stick my USB key in my laptop. That will allow me to finalize the payment of this batch. Okay, nice, simple, and secure. And the great thing about Agicap is that it also allows you to centralize the supplier payment across all your international entities at once. So I can do this not only for my UK entity, but also for the French entity all at once. Okay, so same, I'm not going to do it here, but in one click, it will send the authorization to the banks, and all the payments will be executed automatically at the payment date. Okay, so this is the simple, modern, smooth way to automatically process supplier payment in Agicap, and we're going to cover cash flow management in our next use case. Back to you, Jérôme.
Yeah, I will take the lead for the next. So I will come back here in Odoo and jump back in my dashboard. So we have seen here the vendor bills process. Now we will focus a bit on the customer invoice. So you need to know that Odoo is also here, even if we are in the accounting, Odoo is an invoicing tool. So we can create some invoice for our customers. So here I can just create a new invoice. Let's create one for Ineos. And then in Ineos, I will be able to dive into it and see that we have a contact form, let's say, in which we will find different, of course, the information of Ineos, but also the accounting preference. That will be the important part, that will be the electronic invoicing. So we can set the preference of Ineos. So if they want to receive here the invoice through PayPal and through this format, we can check it directly from this view. But from this view also, we, as Odoo is an ERP, we will be able to jump on the other applications. So for example, if I want to find all the invoice regarding Ineos, I can jump here and find all the invoice. Or I can come back and check what is due or not for Ineos. So everything is tracked in this contact form, which is really central in Odoo. So let's come back in my bill, in my invoice, and create it. So I will create here with my bicycle product, really, let's say, really original. And then I can also add, if I want, some analytic. In this case, I will add in the region Europe. I will put the marketing department, and the other plan are not mandatory, so I will leave it empty. And then I will be able to send, let's say, 10 different quantity of bicycle. So what is important here is, of course, once you will book the invoice, you will see also the overview of the booking. But if I book it, we'll see the cost of goods sold that is generated here. So now that we created the invoice, we want, of course, to send it to our customer. And as you can see, we have also here an information that the PayPal status is ready to be sent. So here I will send my invoice. We just send it through the PayPal format. It's defined in the preference of Ineos, and I will send it directly. I will have an overview of the bill in the right side of my screen. And also I will track in the chatter. You can see also the status that is pending reception, because Odoo is waiting for, let's say, approve of reception by PayPal. And we will track also here in the chatter all the information related to this bill. So we can check that I created now, that it has been sent for processing to PayPal, and we will check later on that that is really done. So here, as in my I'm in a demo test, I will speed up a bit the process, but the sending to PayPal is running every 1 hour. So here I have a button to spend to, let's say, speed a bit the process. And if I come back on my Ineos invoice, now I can see that the PayPal status is done. And it's also tracked in my chatter. The chatter is really an audit trail, but I will come back to it later on. So here my invoice is done. Maybe we can check when the customer will be able to pay it. I will send it back to Agicap.
Back to Agicap, how to do proper cash flow management, leveraging the accounting data from Odoo. So this is like the main dashboard of Agicap, the cash flow plan, where you can see your current cash position, but most importantly, your future cash flow forecast. So here with the dotted blue line, you can see your cash position at every beginning and end of the month. And in green, you can see the cash inflow. In red, the cash outflows with 3 different shades that are related to 3 different data sources. So in dark green and dark red, these are your actual banking transaction, okay, cash inflow, cash outflow. So we connect directly to your banks, also using different protocols, not only open banking, but also ABXTS, Swift, or other local protocols in Europe to make sure that you have super clean and reliable banking data. The intermediary green and red represent the expected transaction. So accounts payable, accounts receivables coming from Odoo. So let's have a quick closer look at this. If I click on this tab, expected transaction, here I will find all the invoices, but also potentially purchase orders and quotes coming automatically from Odoo thanks to our native connector. So back to my cash flow plan, and the third shade, the hashed shade, represents the gap to forecast. So how much you still have to cash in or cash out to actually hit your target of the month and of the future months. And this cash forecast can be created leveraging multiple sources. So one obvious source is to simply import an external Excel budget that you already have in your company, if you already have a cash flow forecast maintained somewhere, and this can be easily imported. You can build your forecast directly in Agicap, leveraging different methodologies. If you have some recurring amounts, or if you want to create automatically future forecast based on your past actual performance, or leveraging some indicators and formulas. So this is completely smart and dynamic. And my favorite, you can also use your P&L statement that has been approved by top management and by the board, and convert it into a cash forecast in 3 simple steps that I'm not going to go into details, but this is also a great way to quickly have a long-term forecast ready to go in Agicap. And here you can see cash in and cash out categories that are completely custom to your needs and your business, so you are free from any accounting standards here. And all your transactions will be automatically categorized based on your custom categories using machine learning. Okay, so this is super easy to implement. And here live you have a ready-to-go cash flow plan so that you can anticipate your low points in terms of future cash flow. You see when there will be tension, when it will be a little stretch, so you can act upon it. And you can also identify where you will have some excess cash that you can hopefully invest. And I will get back into more details with the specific modules that allow you to manage these highs and lows in your future cash flow. One other thing I wanted to mention is that this cash flow plan is based on a single entity. One great thing about Agicap is that you can also manage your cash flow with a consolidated view across multiple entities. So here I'm on the UK entity, but I can switch to consolidated view of my French and UK businesses all at once. So something that's super time consuming typically when it's done manually in an Excel sheet. And you can also create custom consolidation of different entities as you see fit. So here it's like more longer term cash flow planning, but of course cash flow management is also a day-to-day activity where you need to be very reactive and adjust. So if we look at some of our different modules, first of all, short-term cash management with a cash positioning module. So here you can see your day-to-day cash position by bank account and by currency that allows you to adjust based on the short-term forecast. So specifically, you can identify which bank accounts are going to go into overdraft in the coming months to make sure that you can rebalance and get them back in the green zone. You can identify bank accounts that are also in this danger zone based on thresholds that you can define, and also bank accounts on which you have more cash available and that create an opportunity for excess cash placement. So here you can leverage our automatic balancing feature so that you don't need to figure out what the right amount to transfer from each account to what account, but we make you smart recommendation and you can act upon it by generating these intra-company transfers in one click. So short-term cash management, mid-term cash management with market standards of 13-week rolling forecast that gives you a clear overview of your cash forecast on a weekly basis for the 13 coming weeks, again with the same cash inflows and cash outflows categories. So that's something that is especially powerful for like reporting. I know, for example, this is used a lot in the private equity world, or when you work as well with some financial advisors. That's typically the kind of time frames that they are looking at and periodicity that they like with a weekly basis. So they can see directly in Agicap, or you can also generate an export in a few clicks to give them access to your 13-week forecast at any point in time without having to retreat the data. And quickly, the other modules, actual versus forecast. So you can do like gap analysis between what happened compared to what you had in your forecast and make adjustments. Debt management, for those of you who have multiple debts to manage, same, this is traditionally done in separate Excel sheets, but you can also centralize this directly into Agicap to monitor your debts and also hopefully anticipate the one for which you can anticipate repayment of the outstanding capital. And financial investment, if you have identified some excess cash in the coming months, Agicap allows you to identify opportunities of this excess cash based on the cash cushion that you define. So what's the minimal cash you must have on your accounts at any point in time, and based on the interest rates for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months investment, and it generates some potential earnings. And you can also monitor the performance of your current investment directly from this module. So again, the goal here is really to drive cash performance. So not only to have a real-time visibility on your current cash position, but also with short-term cash management, mid-term cash management, to identify how you can act upon it to reduce the cost of financing and to also drive excess cash placement, financial returns on your treasury. Back to you, Jérôme.
Yeah, so talking about cash, of course, we need to know how this operational transaction will be fed into our bank journal. So here, basically, we will find our bank journal in which we are able in Odoo to connect it directly to the bank. So for example, here my bank Barclays, I can have a look to it. I will find different link in which I will be able to link the bank account directly with Odoo. It means that every 6 hours I will be able to have all the transactions into my accounting. So it's quite, it's almost real time regarding the bank. So it's really interesting in this point. You can also work with PayPal or Stripe or even with different banks in the world. So Odoo have more than 27,000 banks synchronized in his system. So once you have the bank, you can just dive into the reconciliation tool, in which we will be able to point out each transaction with the right account, of course. We will find here our transaction, then we will have the overview of the booking that Odoo is proposing for each transaction, and we will have here some options to reconcile each items. So basically, first one here, I have a payment. I see I received a payment, and Odoo proposed me to reconcile an invoice, but I see directly that I have a cash discount applied. Okay, let's have a look directly in this invoice to see what it looks. I can see directly that I have a payment terms with a cash discount, and even in the bill, the invoice, I can maybe zoom a bit. I see that the customer can pay a bit less if he pay before the 10th of October. Let's have a look now in our bank reconciliation. It's in the 6th of October, so indeed he's able to benefit from a cash discount. So here Odoo calculated automatically, and I can validate my invoice and move to the next transaction. Here the next transaction is a rent fees. The rent fees is something that is running every month. So I don't want to do it manually, of course, every month. So I ask Odoo to create a rule that will recognize the rent into the payment reference over here and apply this account. So this way I can just validate. But I can also auto-validate, but it means that if I do that, I have nothing to show you here in this demo. So here I will validate and jump to the next one, which is one of my favorites because it's an advance rule. In this advance rule, we can see that we have a loan, a reimbursement of a loan, with an amount in capital and an amount on interest. But here we have the net amount. And then Odoo is able to read this payment reference to apply the right account on the capital reimbursement, but also for the interest. So we have the correct breakdown and we can validate. Let's jump to the last one. Here I see that I have not a lot of information. I see payments. Odoo is proposing me nothing because I have here the bank expense account. So I can maybe check in my existing entries. I see in the first one that I have this amount popping up, okay, but I can also have a deeper look by just typing the amount. So I see it's actually the free only statement that I can match, but yeah, I don't have a lot of information here, so I will jump directly in my discuss session and notify directly my colleague. Check this payment, please. And this way he will be able, this payment, please. Yeah, I forget this one. Check this payment up. So he will receive a notification to have a look directly on this payment itself. So I want to wait his answer, of course. So by waiting, I will click on to check button and I finish my reconciliation. If I come back on my dashboard, I will still have this little check button here, sending to this suspense, to this, let's say, waiting transaction. So now that my bank is almost finished, let's say, let's jump into the closing of Odoo, the closing and of course the reporting. We have a tool here that is the journal report. The journal report is a tool designed for really the accountant. We will have a view by journal of all the transactions with the important information. So the number of the accounting entry, all, of course, the accounts, the debit and credit column, and the taxes and tax rate as well. But we can go a bit further and dive into the journal items. Into the journal items, we will see quite the same view, but we can play with what we see. So here I want to add, for example, the date. I will have a new column date. I can remove the analytic in this case. I don't need it. And then I can move from one invoice to another. And what is interesting here is that I have the overview of the invoice. So I can control directly that my booking is correct. And I can jump this way from one to another to control everything. It's good to control, of course. But if you spot an error, you can also correct it. So basically here I can just dive into my 49 account, which is really a bad mistake, let's say. So I can just select all the lines here and ask Odoo to update this account. So I will put the account for my consultancy revenue. Odoo will of course ask me to confirm it. I can confirm the update of all these lines. So here, if I jump into the invoice, I will find my new account, but the most important thing is that I can track it into the chatter. So the chatter is just mentioning here that I update now this account with the new one. So it's really an audit trail that is really interesting, because if you have, let's say, some bad communication with your customer or with an auditor a few months later, you can still know who did what at any time. So let's come back now in the journal report and have a focus on the vendor bills. I won't do in the same process because I think you understand the idea, but I would like just to show you here the table that we had in the at the end of these journals. So basically we will find here the taxes which is used in the journal for the related period, but also the tax grid. What we call tax grid actually are the box inside your VAT statement. I can audit it as well and check what is in my box 7, for example the license cost here, and check also the overview of the invoice. And this way I can control at any time that everything is in line. Talking about VAT, of course, let's jump back in my dashboard, in which I have here a notification that I'm a bit late for my third quarter of 2023 of VAT. So let's jump into it, and we will dive directly into this statement, but we can also have an audit from here. So if I click on the figures, I can also click here of what is computing these figures, and then dive into the overview of the bill if needed. So we always track every source document. Then I will be able to close my entry and post it. Odoo will generate the PDF report of this VAT statement, which is just informative for you, but he will also, as a log date, close the period of the third quarter 2023. So we'll put this date automatically, so I won't be able anymore to create entries before this date. Entries with VAT, of course. Then I can come back in my tax report, and if I want to send it to HMRC, I will be also able to do it. Let's jump now in my other report. So let's say more basic report in which we can add comparison if we want. So in your balance sheet, if you want to add a variance between two periods, you can play with it. We can play with other period as well, but here in this case I will put no comparison and put the last financial year, and I will show you that any figures of this report we can drill down into it to find where it's coming. So basically if I jump here in my current year earnings, I can see directly the profit and loss report. I can also deep dive into the operating income and into this account. So let's have a look. Odoo will propose me all the entry computing the balance of this account, and I can also jump into one of them to just check that everything is in line. I see that I have an invoice here which is paid, and in this invoice for Tesla is also related to a sale order. So let's jump into the sale order. So here we are really in the business workflow of the customer, and we can see that this sale order generated a task in relation with the work of the customer, and we can even check the timesheet which has been invoiced at the first place. And in one click I can just come back from where I start. So now it's, let's say, a part of the main report of Odoo, but we have also different kind of report that can be personalized. So I will take the invoice analysis report, in which it can be interesting for a customer doing his invoice in Odoo to check, or let's say, the statement of each customer of each product. He can play with the different graph to see what he needs to see. But on my side, I will focus on the pivot view, in which I will set by partner, so by customer, the sales that I did for the last quarters. And here I have the breakdown of all my sales by quarter, and I can go a bit further by inserting it in a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is actually kind of an Excel worksheet in which you can add some information. But the great advantage of this one, it's developed inside Odoo, so it means that all the data that are inside my report are live with all of the entry which are on my accounting. So I will put some random data here as budget. Up. As I'm on an Excel, I can add formula as well. Up. And let's have our comparison between the real data. Whoa. Sorry, click on the wrong button. Yes, and of course, up. Yes, I locked my numlock. Here I am. Okay, is it okay? I'm sorry. So I take back. I confirm the data of. I check the data of my real data coming from my table and the one coming from my budget. I can add also a graph if I want to have something more visual. Let's have something here, and I can check quickly that okay, I have my best customer here, Vodafone, in which I sold for the second quarter the biggest amount. So of course, this report, if I want to use it more times, I can add it in my dashboard because I don't want, of course, to do it anytime. I will add it and name it invoice analysis and put the finance workspace and create it. It will be added in my dashboard application. So here Odoo just forward me directly into another application, which is a dashboard one, but I will come back to it later because I see directly here that I have a wrong amount on my InBev customer. I see directly that it's lower than the other. So I remember that I forget to create a new invoice. So let's come back in the dashboard and create a new invoice for InBev. InBev, here we are. I will add also a bicycle, but here, yes, I click on the wrong items, bicycle, up, and I will sold a lot of bicycle. Yeah, it's better. I can confirm, and then I will come back now in my dashboard application. This dashboard application has a lot of different dashboards which are already available out of the box in Odoo with different KPI, which are quite general, but you can of course customize it with your needs. I can play with the year to see maybe the amount in 2023. I can play also with here this invoicing and check what has been invoiced during these 3 years. I can access the top invoice, so basically the one that I just created a few minutes ago. I can still dive into it, so we can see that I created now this invoice. But let's going back, of course, in the report that I just created, the invoice analysis, in which we see directly in the graph that my best customer became InBev, thanks to the invoice that I just created, and actually we see it directly in the table, and I can of course dive into it to find the related amount, so we can really track any figures in this report as well. So it was part of the dashboard of Odoo. I believe that also in Agicap you have a dashboard to show?
Yes.
Perfect.
Can you please switch to...
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, we also offer you a possibility to leverage out-of-the-box charts, like for the main cash KPIs that everyone wants to use. For example, to compare your cash inflow and cash outflow actual versus forecast for the past months. So these are available as soon as your Agicap account is up and running. But you can also create custom dashboard with some things that are a bit more specific. So for example, if I really have like a lot of different bank accounts and I want to measure the volumes and the fees per bank account, I can also create some custom dashboard in this regard. So here it's a breakdown of flows by bank. And here it's my banking fees by bank as well. And same, you can leverage any of the cash data available in Agicap to create any chart you want for desktop, but also available on the smartphone, something that CFOs and CEOs especially appreciate. Thanks.
Great. So maybe one last thing that we can do on our side is, of course, thank you for your presence and for your attention. And we will find you in the Q&A session in a few seconds. Thank you.
Thank you.
again. So we will switch now to this Q&A session. So we will just dive from one question to another, and we will see if where it will go. So let's check the first question here. If there are purchase order where we haven't received an invoice yet, can Agicap grab these amounts which are not yet invoiced?
Yes. So, like I showed you in the demo, in the intermediary color, intermediary green and red, here you can leverage expected transaction like purchase orders and quotes that come also directly from Odoo. So the answer is yes, you can leverage these amounts.
Loic, one of my colleagues, encouraging us. So Anne, hello. Is it possible documents to add to two folders if finance people and managers need different access to the document in Odoo? Can regards, you can of course play with access rights inside the documents application, meaning that you have these different workspace, and in the workspace you can set specific access rights. So you can give access like a read view, so the people can just check the document without updating anything, but you have also access right where these people won't be able to access the workspace anymore. Maybe we switch to the next question. What if the customer doesn't allow you to book on his account if he sends money and if the given period of time is gone? I'm not sure to understand the question. On his account. Yeah, of course, in the view here, in the demonstration, I put in evidence that the customer can access, of course, the accounting data, but also the documents application, and the accountant as well. After, you can play with also the access rights. I think it's coming also from Anne. We can play with the access rights to know who has access to what, and of course, if you don't want that if the customer doesn't want you to book the account on his account, yeah, I don't know what is your role as an accountant then. I can jump to the, maybe I didn't understand well the question, so don't hesitate to precise the question if needed. How do you create bookings of bank accounts imported directly from the bank with document later on? Is this possible? So if you made a link with the bank and with the journals, you can, of course, after all, create what we call statements, in which you can put the statement, the official statement of the banks, to align the balance of this statement with Odoo. Or you can also generate your own statement in Odoo to just have, for example, a balance at the end of each month, and be able to really track what is the balance inside your accounting, inside your bank account. So we can maybe jump to the question of Wilfried. I think which version does Agicap available from?
That's a good question.
So here the demonstration was with Odoo 17, so the last one. After I can help.
I have to double check this because I don't want to say any mistake, but I think we developed the Odoo connector like 2-3 years ago, so at least there is compatibility with.
So the connection is made through the API, and the API is available in Odoo. Yeah, at least for the last versions. I don't want to say mistake, also because I'm not expert in this section. But yeah, I maybe don't want to say
on the version from the past couple of years, but I will double check and we can get back to you, Wilfried, to give you a clear answer.
So I have here a specific question, which I usually answer with my Swiss customer. Do Odoo offer Swiss payroll and Swiss bank synchronization? So of course we don't show here everything about payroll, but Odoo has the Swiss payroll available. But it still needs to be, let's say, certified by SwissDec, which is the certification in Switzerland. So it's available, but it's in the process for the certification, and it takes, I think it's in the process since the beginning of the year, and it can take a few months before Odoo is certified, but it's ongoing. And it's quite the same for the Swiss bank, as it's not the same technology, as the Swiss are not part of the European in the Europe. We are also in negotiation with, let's say, another provider, a Swiss provider, that will be able to give us the access to almost all the banks in Switzerland. We have few of them for now, but with this new provider, we'll be able to, of course, propose this alternative with more banks available. So here, okay, thank you. That's very nice. Thank you also, Phil. What is involved to implement Agicap? Does it require consistency from Agicap or simple API key?
So yeah, I can take this one. So to set up Agicap, there are two different paths. One is to work directly with our customer success team, with which you will implement your cash flow plan, connect your banks, connect to Odoo. So it's a matter of between 2 weeks and 1 or 3 months, depending on the complexity of the case and the size of the company, of course. Or you can also work with our network of partners. Specifically, we work more and more with Odoo partners that also get certified on Agicap. So depending on where you are located, there might be an Odoo partner that is already knowledgeable about Agicap and that can help you with the process. And if you are an Odoo partner and you are interested, of course, feel free to contact me to know more.
I think the next question is also for you.
Yes.
What is the pricing model for Agicap?
For Agicap. So yeah, pricing model for Agicap, it's a classic model, say, with an annual license fee. So the price range varies also a lot depending on the scope, if you use only part or everything in the features that we use, and depending on the size of the company. But to give you some ballpark numbers, for like a small company, license fee will be around 300 euros per month, and our bigger customers are around 3,000, 4,000 euros per month. When your company has generates like few hundred millions of annual revenue, for example. So this is kind of the ballpark price range. And then for implementation fee, it depends. I mean, if you work with an Odoo partner for the implementation, there will be a separate implementation cost that can be as well between 5,000 and 15,000 euros, depending on the complexity and the length of the implementation. So I hope it's a good indication of our pricing range. So
feel free to add. You have also some interesting link into the chat to the Agicap website and the pricing model. So don't hesitate to go there. So yeah, I don't think we have enough. We have still question. Don't hesitate to still write it. We are still there, of course. Maybe to take a bit of time. How it goes? Fine.
Yeah, I
good
think it was a great
Odoo,
session. Great session on our side. We really enjoyed it. We try to make it interactive by showing you like the different integration points between the two solutions, but they are very complementary, as you can see. And there's a lot more to discover. So of course, yeah, feel free to.
You have something to add before maybe
in touch.
Closing?
Yeah.
No.
No. I mean, again, thanks everyone for attending.
Yeah.
I know cash flow management is a big topic, and this is something where there is a lot of room for improvement. So happy that we can do it well together with Odoo.
We have a question. It's again for you. Where is the data from Agicap hosted?
Yes, Google Cloud, Belgium.
I heard about this country. It's quite nice. Yeah, so I still wait for a sec. Yeah, maybe I would like also to apologize. I lock my screen during the presentation. Yeah, it's the live, let's say, the live demo. It can happen. It could be worse, actually. So
there was also a glitch in my demo. Maybe you did not notice, but when I was supposed to validate the payment in the end, something popped up that was not supposed to pop up. So these things happen. It's okay.
Can the user access it?
What do you mean? Can the user access to the data? To the banking data? Yeah, of course. I mean, you can export most of the data from Agicap to reuse it in Excel files. So yes, I mean, it's pretty open in terms of export capabilities. in Agicap. Yes.
Okay. Maybe we will slowly close this webinar. If you still have questions, don't hesitate to get in touch and just ask us, and of course we will be glad to answer all your questions, because of course this webinar was also broadcasted, so it means that you can watch it later. You can also share it to your let's say to your network if you want, and if you feel it was interesting, please do it. We will be glad to be watched online by a lot of people. So thank you everyone,
Thank
and
you.
see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.